Hello, and you are very welcome to this pit stop for Eco's First Continent, a game from AEG designed by John D. Clair for 2 to 6 players taking around 60 minutes. And in Eco's First Continent, we are the primeval forces shaping the world as it forms, creating continents and areas of water and putting landscape features on there and adding the wildlife also into play, looking to score the most points. And when a player has got over 80 points at the end of a drawing round, then we're going to add up and see who's got the most points and who's won the game. The main mechanism of Eco's the First Continent is a bag drawing game. There are lots of different element tiles and they're seeded in different numbers, and you've got a guide to that on here. And you're going to have a harbinger and they are going to draw one tile. So they're going to draw a tile and everyone's going to get to see what it is. If you have that tile available in one of your power spots on the cards in front of you, you're going to start with 3 cards in front of you. You're going to be able to play more, get more from the decks, have a hand of 12 to start. So we look and see, is that symbol available? Yes, it is. Then we simply take one of our available power cubes and we put it onto that symbol. Now everyone's going to do that at the same time. And then from the harbinger round, we're going to say whether we finished any of our cards. In this case, no one has. So we continue and draw the next symbol. Now for this symbol has been drawn from the bag. That's a sum. We don't have that available. That gives us another option. If we had got a symbol, for example, for this, we didn't have to place a power cube, but if we don't have it, we have to do this. We simply turn around our start marker. Now, when you've turned it twice, you get a chance to gain a card into your hand. That will be draw 2 cards. You can draw 2 from the same deck or 1 from each. Look at them both and retain 1. Now, the only difference between the 2 decks are that these ones here, these reddy orangey ones, they're more to do with featuring how we build up this continent, and the blue-green ones are more likely to be scoring you more points. If you do take a card, you put it back to the start. However, if you don't, the next time you don't place a cube, you can spin it around again. And that will allow you to either take another power cube to allow you to fill up more slots on your cards, or to play one of the cards from your hand and put it down, looking to create some combos for yourself. And again, that would go back to the start. So that's what we do when the tiles are drawn. Now I said that something changes when one of these gets filled up one of these slots. So if this got drawn, we would then put one of our power cubes into play and we have finished off this card. Anytime you finish a card, you do the actions on the card, you take all the power cubes back off into your reserve, and then you spin it once. Now there are these leaf symbols on there. They tell you how many uses there are in the card. If it had been on one leaf and I'd used it for a final time, that card will then go out of my tableau. So let's have a look and see what I've done. Now, we're going to be able to add to the landscape. This one allows me to add a tile. So I'm going to put this into play here like this. You get these grassland tiles, you get desert tiles, and you get water tiles. And the difference between them is the in-game effect. What can go on there, what animals can go on there, and how you score points for them. This will also allow me to score some points and also some more points for adjacent tiles. And I'd add these onto my score up here. Now the other features you can put on are landscape features. There are trees and there are also mountains. So if this one got drawn here, I could activate this card, and that tells me, again, take these cubes off and do everything on there and spin it around once. But that tells me I can add a tree to a tile. Trees can only go onto forest tiles, or 2 can go onto a forest tile with a mountain, or 1 on a desert tile with a mountain. Mountains allow you to have more trees. So I can add this along here, for example. And then this one is going to score me points for particular symbols I have in play on my tableau. So that's something to consider. This one down here would have scored me points per adjacent tree. So if I'd put it down here, this tree in the same area and those adjacent would have been worth more points to me. So you're checking how your individual cards work in order what's best for you each time you're drawing out these tiles. Now the final thing you can do to add to the board, for example, if this water was drawn, we would be able to add a manatee in. Now all the different animals are kept in here. Some of these are 2-sided, the manatee happens not to be. So I could put a manatee in play there. And that again would do whatever it says on here, and different animals can only go in different things. For example, this gorilla can only go where there's a mountain present, this antelope can only go on grassland, and these sea creatures can only go in the sea, but hippos can go on grassland or sea, and they're all different as to what they require. Leopards require trees, for example. That's going to let me gain a power cube and put some cubes onto play again, and again I'm looking to chain my resources and my play. So speaking of chaining, you're going to get some cards that require lots of symbols to be played, but they tend to need you to try and set things up. So for example, if I continued using this, I could put more sea tiles into play, and then maybe I'd put this card into play. And when I fill that up, that's going to allow me to put fish into play. And then see this big one that's lurking over here, which takes a lot to fill up. That allows me to play a shark. This is like to be one of these blue cards for the scoring of points. So I take one of these shark tiles and put it into play. Whenever you put an animal on, it has to be in an allowed empty space, unless there are no allowed empty spaces, and then you can start piling the animals up. But lots of cards let you move them around, like this one. It says gain 5 points just for putting the shark into place. It costs a lot to fill this up. Then move the shark up to 4 spaces, removing any animals in those spaces. Nom, 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 nom. Unfortunately, he's eating those hippos, the cute manatees, and the fish, and they will go back in the stock. And score 4 points for each animal move. So that's going to score me 21 points all in one go, and then gain a card and play a card. So you can see that by using these cards that were easier to fill up, I'll create combos, I'll shape the continent the way I want it, and then I'll use my more powerful cards in order to score a load of points. Now there's a wild tokens within the bag. Whenever a wild token is drawn, that is the end of a Harbinger's round. First thing you do is everyone gets to add any power cube on there and activate all their cards. Then we're going to check and see if anyone's made it past the 80 points. If they have, whoever has scored the most points is going to win. If there's a tie, we keep drawing one element at a time until there's no longer a tie anymore. And all of these tiles will go back into this draw bag and we'll pass it to the next player, and then they get a chance to draw these elements until someone has won the game of Ecos, the first continent. This has been a Game Pit Stop. For more videos like this, check out our YouTube channel. For in-depth coverage of gaming, please check out the Game Pit podcast. Thank you.